All right, part two. The harshest and most cruel men were appointed to be their overseers, and if one of the Israelites asked for his wages or fainted under his burden, he was beaten or put in the stocks. Does that sound familiar? Any correlation? Let me help you out. He asked for his wages. List and list and list of lynchings and lynchings and lynchings, all of ridiculous, absolutely asinine, insane reasons why these people's lives are ended. So, going further into the correlation between the Israelites and black Americans and both their plights and how eerily similar they are, if you know, you know. In the last video I made, I focused on the 1350 witchcraft or spell that they try to cast over us, meaning that black people's population for the damn near how many decades now has not grown past 13%. In reality, I said it's because they can't get us past are below 13% of the population. They've tried. No matter how hard they try, no matter what they do, no matter what form of evil they throw against us, they cannot get the black American population below 13% because, as I said before, we are spiritually insured, the only ones that are spiritually insured. So, with that being said, somebody made a beautiful correlation between the Israelites and us. Somebody said, hey, yo, they tried to do the same thing to us in Egypt. They tried to do the same thing to the Israelites that they tried to do with us, with the abortions and the statistics on our how many people we are and how our population. They tried to do the same thing in Egypt. Pharaoh tried to do the same thing. And I was like, that's a beautiful point. And I can't believe I didn't bring out. So right now I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to show you what the women were actually doing and how blessed you were and how no matter how hard Egypt and Pharaoh tried to get the Israelite numbers down or to get the Israelites down and out, he couldn't do that, and how similar it is to black Americans. And I'm going to get more and more, and I'm going to go back into the book of Negro folklore, and I'm going to get some other points to prove and show the similarities between black Americans and what was going on with them and the Israelites in Egypt. So let's just start with this up here. It's talking about Pharaoh and instructed them. Now, remember, this is talking about Pharaoh and instructed them to drown all the male children that were born. And he threatened with death those who withstood his decree. And that he might know what women were expecting to be delivered, he sent little Egyptian children to the baths to observe the Hebrew women and report on their appearance. But the Most High looked upon the mothers, and they were delivered in sleep under the shadow of fruit trees, and angels attended on them, washed and dressed the babes, and smeared their little hands with butter and honey, that they might lick them, and delighting in the flavor abstained from crying, and thus escape discovery. Then the mothers on waking exclaimed, O most merciful one, into thy hands we commit our children. But the emissaries of Pharaoh followed the traces of the woman, and would have slain the infants had not the earth gapped and received the little babes into a hollow place within there where they were fed by angels' hands with butter and honey. The Most High came through for his people every time. I stated in a video a while ago I made on TikTok. Back when they were taking us out or trying to take us out, they would go and they would take out one of our towns, let's just say in Georgia. On the other side of the country in California, a bunch of Negroes, numbers just boosted up. A bunch of babies were just born on the other side of the country. They go to the other side of the country, they try to take out our population over there. Back on the East Coast, our population boosts up like crazy. No matter where they go, something's going to pop up. We're going to be spiritually protected. This is the Israelite woman under Egyptian rule. So again, to expound further upon the comparison of the 1350 curse that they try to put onto us and making our population seem like it's always low, and what they did in Egypt with the Israelites, let's go over here and let's read this, something very interesting. The Egyptians, effeminate and hating work, fond of pleasure and display, had envied the prosperity of the Hebrews, who had thriven in Goshen, and whose wives bore sometimes 6 and sometimes 12 infants at birth. They've never been able to control our population. That's why they refer to you as roaches. That's why they push birth controls. That's why they put abortion clinics on your corners so often. They have to get you to do it yourselves. So in case any of you want to get any more further information on the Israelites and their plight in Egypt and the story of their protection and about Joseph and about how they were losing favor and how they gained favor, and the story of Moses, which is incredible, which I actually kind of got lost into reading while I was doing this. But this from the website sacredtext.com, and it's from a book called Legends of the Old Testament Characters from the Talmud and other sources. So check this out. I believe it's on the website sacredtext.com. Now, getting further into the comparison, let's just go through some of the comparisons that we have already between the children of Israel and black Americans. So we have the children of Israel being fed to dragons in the Nile River, or what we know as crocodiles, Nile crocodiles in the river. Black Americans, check. We were fed as Badergate to the gators, probably in the Mississippi River, and what we know as the Nile River of the Americas. Check right there. Our numbers continue to grow no matter how hard they try to use magic or witchcraft to keep them down, which I didn't even get into the witchcraft that was used against them and the spells that was used on them to try to get their numbers down, the tactics that Pharaoh used to try to monitor us, our numbers, and try to monitor our women and to monitor the numbers that we were producing. Very similar, very, very, very similar. The children of Israel, their men were killed for the slightest thing because they would ask for their wages, because they would fall out in the field, or they would fall out while doing the brickwork, and the sun and the amount of work they were doing that day would get to them, and they would fall out and they would immediately be killed. Same thing would happen in the fields. A woman would fall out in the fields. I got a story that I'm about to that I can read to you from the book of Negro folklore and from other books that I have of Negro folklore, where there's a story of a pregnant woman talking about how, I remember being pregnant, falling out, and I just got beat for it. I didn't get time off. A bunch of people just had to come and help, and they had to overdo their work in order for me not to get killed or for me not to get beat again because I was pregnant. And the men would fall out, the woman would fall out, and they would get killed for it. And I posted the image from that newspaper article of the black man hanging, saying he asked for his wages. And I just read from you from this book right here, where it said that the children of Israel were killed because they would ask for their wages, or they would ask for fair wages. So many similarities, but let's just hit this home run with the last one that I'm going to touch on. All right, so I brought this point up before, and they know that we're the children of Israel, and this is more proof showing that they know who we are. Know that America is Egypt. Hold on, let me get that America is Egypt. So they know America is the promised land. America is the chosen land. America is the land of prophecy, that all 12 tribes were going to be put into their 400 years of servitude for their disobedience. This is from Oriental Masonry, page 25. Shout out to Brother Neophyte DAG, where I got this source from. Many other people have shared this, but let's read it right here. Number 6. In America, rediscovered in the 15th century and repopulated in the 7th, was rediscovered Egypt and the promised land, or the land of the constellation of the eagle. So they already know over here America is the promised land. It's new modern day Egypt. You can refer to America right now as Egypt. You can refer to the president as Pharaoh. You can refer to a bad father of a household as a Pharaoh. When I've done my research on a Pharaoh, or what is a Pharaoh, and something I found very interesting in the book was where they said if your dad is a bad leader of a household, he can be referred to as a pharaoh. So anyway, let's get it out of the way that these people came over here and they know they had all 12 tribes enslaved. They took Judah, they took that kingdom from over there in Europe and over there in Spain and Portugal, and they kicked them out and they pushed all them over here, and they got all the Israelites that were over here, the indigenous tribes of Shemites over here that were Israelites that followed the law, and they got them all together and they began their servitude. So let's just prove even more that they know who we are, and they know that we're the Israelites, and they've been doing the stuff that they did in Egypt, and they use what happened in Egypt, and they follow what the Greeks done, they follow a little bit of what the Egyptians done, they follow a little bit of what the Assyrians done for their own little flavor of captivity for us. The book of Negro folklore, what we just came from. It required no stretch of the imagination to see the trials of the Israelites as paralleling to the trials of the slaves. Pharaoh and his armies as oppressors, the Egypt land as the south, or Goshen, if you know, you know. Go Down Moses was a censored song according to fugitive slaves. You weren't allowed to compare. You weren't allowed to sing about Moses. You weren't allowed to compare yourself to the Israelites as a slave or sing songs referring to your guys' self as the Israelites. Interesting.